Hey everybody, this is Jordan with Conquering Trading and Investing, and we are getting ready today for our New York session live stream and a look at the Forex currency markets together. I hope you all had a good weekend, and I am very excited to be getting started with you again this week. All right, I haven't even yet begun to look at the chart, so I'm going to be getting situated this morning with you with a clean look and view. What I do know is happening this morning is I do know that as we get into the New York session, that the British pound is the strongest currency and the Australian dollar is the weakest. As the North American session begins, the reason that the pound is the strongest is we've had some politics playing out over in the UK, and that is really driving a lot of movement in the pound. Now, for those of you following, now we're just jumping into the pound right now. Again, I'm looking at everything fresh. The first time I'm really seeing all these currency pairs is with you this morning, and I'm going to make whatever decisions I need to. I do have one current open trade right now, two current trades open. Well, actually, I was stopped out here on the pound overnight, and I have my euro US dollar short still open, and I exited my gold trade on Friday. Now, this over here, this little yellow slash was drawn in, not today. This was drawn in last week, I believe on Thursday. And we had these lower highs here. And we drew this in to see whether or not we would have another third lower high. And that could still possibly be happening. This blue box that you're looking at, which we'll see on every currency pair we look at, is the range of last week. That way we know whether or not we're trading within last week's range or whether or not we've possibly broken out up or down. So what we see now developing, we did have what looks like a false breakout now on Friday morning. And now price is trading above the previous high of that price bar. We're still within this narrow range. As you can see, in my eyes, what I see is a possible triangle still developing. Now, if we do break out above this area, that's going to be pretty bullish for the pair. We will definitely come back up and test these highs. Right now, I just got stopped out of this trade, and I'm just on the sidelines waiting. Just want to wish everyone a good morning. I hope that you did have a good weekend. For those of you who are following this strategy over here that we do share in Forex Factory, make a living 1 hour a day trading Forex, the perfect strategy for beginners or those with a full-time job. And this literally only takes about 1 minute a day to check if you have trade criteria. We did have a trade on this pair as early as the opening of this session yesterday on the British pound, and it looks like we're going to be crossing over. You can see here there was a signal right here when the true trend crossed over to the zero line to the negative side, and it looks like today we're going to have a reverse signal. It looks like today, obviously, we're going to get a close to the upside, which we will then be exiting the trade and entering long. The stop loss is going to be down here at the low of Friday's price bar. We will get to that later in the day as that develops. We did have a question over the weekend about Bitcoin that we will address in a little bit. Let's continue taking a look at the markets. We see that the dollar index is currently trading down. TradeView had an update over the weekend. I noticed a couple of things are different, but there's a little bit of lag on our blue box, just to let you know. So what we're seeing is just the dollar index coming off a little, really. Nothing really to note. The dollar is just trading off a little today. Let's take a look at the euro US dollar. This pair is important to me at the moment only because I am still holding short on this trade. So we're going to step back and look at this trade. And I'm going to describe to you how I approach it, what I see. And what I see right now is obviously price is trading up today, but it's trading still at the lower portion even of last week's range. This breakdown we've seen of this trend line and this trade channel is still looking healthy. I don't have any of my to even look for take profits down to a little bit further. So I'm just going to continue holding this trade. I want to come down to the 8-hour time frame, and I'm going to pull up the true trend. And I see that right now this is actually showing to me that there's a possible signal developing here to get into another short trade. Excuse me 1 second. All right. Sorry about that, folks. I got 5 kids in the house. All right. So so what I see here is I see the entry CCI, right? The blue line here is actually now showing me that it's stretched away from the trend, this downtrend right here. This is showing to me that, well, now, you know what, Jordan, you have to begin looking for a short entry if you're looking to get this short pair. How much downside room do I have? Well, I see over here as a take profit zone. So from if you were to get short, I would be getting short when the previous price bar's low is taken out. So my entry would be somewhere around 1.10223, and I have a take profit down here. So it's about 25, 30 pips, which looks like a good trade to me. I'm already short from up here. Will I add to my position? I could have added over here. I didn't get a chance to add. This looks healthy. I'm seeing this stair stepping down. I'm seeing this in a nice, almost 45-degree angle fall. I will be looking to add a position if we do make a lower low than the previous price bar. I have trade criteria. I have about 25, 30 pips to a take profit zone. What I will do though, since this is a second position, I will take profit on this position first. If I get an entry here, I'll be looking to take profit here, absolutely. And this other position that I'm in, since over here, I'll still be holding that to see how price reacts around this area. Okay, I have a lot more leeway to hold this trade to see how price reacts around this level. And if price falls through, well, then I'm going to be holding it and looking to see if we get even a test of down here lower. But if price stalls out here and seems to be bouncing off it, I'll also take profit on this trade. But this piece that I'm adding over here will just be looking for about 25 pips, 30 pips. I'll be looking to take profit right there in that zone. All right, let's move on to the US dollar, Japanese yen. And all right, so again, let me first pull back with you to the daily time frame. I want to go take a top-down approach. And the first thing that I see price has, and this was this little trend line up here, because it looks like a rising wedge that was drawn in, I believe, on Friday. Okay, we were trading without this line. This was just added. And what I do see though is I see price has pulled back to the top of this breakout of this triangle here. This is a place to look for an entry for me, because I see that we have what looks like a breakout, and now price is testing that was resistance, should now be support. If this holds here, if this starts bouncing off here, and again, I'm going to jump down to the 8-hour. If price starts rising here, and again, for me, the signal is just price taking me back into the trade by making, if I'm going long, a higher high than the previous price bar, I will get long right here. This looks like a good spot for an entry. I'm going to pause for a second and to place some orders on this. And my stop is well defined. My stop loss is, I'm going to have my stop down here below this last swing high. Let me draw that in for you. Change that color to red so you know it's a stop. That's where I'm going to place my stop. I'm going to risk 1% here, and then I'm going to have my entry above the high of this previous price bar. The high of it, if it triggers, I'll get into the trade. And I'm not placing any take profit at the moment. The first place I'll look for a take profit would be up here to see how it will react around this little bit of this rising wedge that we have here. And if we break through, I'm going to be holding it. If price seems to be stalling around it, I'll take profit on that. Now, as far as what else is developing on this pair, and I could go back to the daily time frame for you to see that, but we do have this wedge. This line is ugly. Let me take that out. You can see that rising wedge here. And this is a pattern that if this breaks here of this trend line, this lower trend line, which is acting right now as support, if that breaks, well, that pattern will be a really good short entry for a longer term trade, because if this does break, we'll be looking for a test first around this 106.5 area down here. So that's a pattern that we're just going to be watching. Right now, this is still trading with a bullish bias. We are looking for buy side trades. I see us testing the support line. This looks like a nice possible trade entry today. Hey, Raj, good morning. Thank you for joining us today. If anyone has any questions whatsoever about any pair I'm discussing, as you know from my flow, is what I tend to do is I tend to first look at every single currency pair, see what's going on, see which trades, which pairs are offering the best setups for the day, and then go back and review other pairs. But if anyone has something they want to add or any other input, please do go ahead and let me know, let us know. Moving on to the US dollar, Canadian dollar, I'm going to start again on the daily time frame. And you know what, all I see is that at first I see that price is not doing anything today. It's not giving us any further clue than when we looked at, we have the weekly Forex forecast. There's a link in the description here. I'm sorry, I need to update that. I'll update it right away until this weekend's. Please forgive me for that. And we looked at the Canadian dollar, US dollar here. Nothing else has changed since. We have this resistance area, this sell zone that I have up here. The pair is bullish. The pair has been bullish now ever since early last week, the week before last, when the Bank of Canada met. And that's definitely bullish price action, right? The US dollar is definitely making gains on the Canadian dollar. But as far as I'm concerned, that is just a bull move in a bear market. All right. So I'm not looking for any longs here. There are other pairs that are providing better trades against the US dollar, where the US dollar is acting stronger, such as the euro, that are offering better opportunity. But I am watching this pair to see if we could get short at another point. The only time I'll be looking for longs on this pair is if we get above this sell zone. If price gets above this sell zone, breaks up over here towards this 1.3355 area, at that point, I will have turned to a bullish bias and I will be looking for long side trades. Right now, I'm just watching how this pair develops. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to take a look. Again, we look at every pair. We could start right now with the Australian dollar, US dollar, because this is the weakest pair, the Australian dollar, in today's session. And what we have right now, again, we're going to start with the daily, see what we'll look at. We see that, well, the first thing I noticed is that price did go ahead this morning and it tested the low of last week's price range, right? And didn't yet break down. But we have a lot going on this pair. This is a pair that over the weekend we said that we want to be really focused in on. And the reason for that is because you could see a couple of things happened. We had this channel right here. We had this lower trend line of support that was broken, right? This was broken on Friday morning. And then we also have this longer trend channel down here, this trend line, which was also broken. So we're trading right now under two lines of support that were all broken on Friday. We see a price is weak today on the Australian dollar, but it's not making lower lows than Friday yet. Let's take a look at the 8-hour time frame. We could see, interestingly enough, the true trend on the 8-hour is still holding positive. It looks like it's going to be rolling over. It hasn't yet. Now, all right, so here's what I'm thinking in my mind. I know that the Australian dollar is weak today, the weakest pair today. It's not making lower lows than last week's range or on Friday. The true trend is still showing a positive bias on the 8-hour time frame. I'm waiting, right? I do expect this pair to trade lower. It hasn't yet. We're only going to trade what we see. The first thing we're going to do is wait to get a trend change here for that to turn lower. That will be if we start making a lower low. I'm sorry. What I'm saying doesn't make sense. I'm looking here at the 8-hour, looking at the daily with you. You can see that price did not make a lower low, right? We have a low here on Friday of 0.6847. And then today we have 0.6848. So it didn't make a lower low. However, on the 8-hour, it looked like it did. There we go. Sorry, a little more precise. If we do make a lower low than the previous week, that is going to be, we're going to be receiving a trend change at the same time. It will be negative. And at that point, we'll begin looking for shorts. I'm not going to take a short on that zero line cross. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for this entry CCI to come back pulled against the downtrend. If it does turn positive, if this blue line is trading up against the downtrend, at that point, we'll probably be getting a test of this line right here, providing to be resistance, and we'll look to get short. So right now, this is just a watch. There's nothing tradable happening here. This is a pair that obviously seems to be ready to make a move, but it's not moving right now. And you can see this whole session, it's still trading basically where it opened. Price has not really moved. It's in a narrow range. It's not something we want to trade at the moment. Why is the pound up today? It looked like it had broken, well, did break support. Let's move over to the pound. Now, I took this short actually on Friday. The reason I took this short on Friday was because price had made a lower low. It had broken down out of this and this two supports that it held. We had this wasn't a triangle at the point. And price looked like it was going to break down and fall at least to test this area, if not this one. Taking a breakout, whether up or down, Friday late into the New York session could be a little bit iffy, right? You have the weekend coming up. Traders would be squaring positions. I did take the trade. I also put the stop loss at the height of that price bar that broke down, because I knew that if price traded back above it right away, it was just a false breakout. And it looks like a false breakout right now. There was a lot of news out of England today with Nigel Farage saying that he was, instead of challenging certain seats, he was going to concede them. This was a political move. If you want to go to Forex Live, if you want to read more about why exactly that is happening, you have the headline here. Nigel Farage said he won't contest 317 of the Tory seats won in 2017. And then you could read some thoughts on here if what that really means. Again, I mean, I trade off the charts. I'm always aware of news events and fundamental news. Speaking of which, tomorrow on the calendar, we have the Bank of New Zealand meeting with an expected quarter point rate cut. So you can see this. This will be tonight, New York time. No, this will be tomorrow night, New York time. The Bank of New Zealand with an expected quarter point rate cut. So if you are trading any New Zealand dollar pairs today, just be aware that there is a huge central bank rate announcement tomorrow. I am always aware of what's going on fundamentally with the pairs I'm trading, but at the same time, I do believe the charts price everything in, and that is where I focus. Yep. So and Scott, I also, that seems to me like you're taking the trade signal from where your stop was placed off the make a living 1 hour day trading Forex strategy that is shared in the Forex Factory forum, where we go into depth on current trades. I am also in that trade as well with you. Yeah. If you haven't watched this video yet, do go ahead and watch this video. This strategy is absolutely phenomenal. Let's take a look at that really quick together right now, because it looks like we're going to have another trend change today, right? So this was a signal we had. This uses, by the way, the strategy uses the true trend BTC, which has the 333 period setting for the trend CCI. This is not the true trend settings that we use for trading currencies on a day-to-day basis, which is using just the true trend 3 period, 70 period. All right, so we did have a sell signal, took the sell signal. I sold it on the market open yesterday. I had my stop up here at the, see this move here of the true trend. This is the previous move. The highest price point of that swing high was up here. And I added 1 pip plus the spread. So my high, like Scott's, is up near 1.3052. It looks like today at the close of this daily, we're going to get another trend change. The trend CCI, don't care about the color. I care if the reading is above or below 0. You could see this is currently, entry CCI is trading at 24, which is above 0. I'll be looking to go ahead and exit my short, right? So the risk on that trade is 1.8%. It looks like it's going to be a loss of about 0.9% or less. And what I'll do is I'll exit that at market if we do get a signal. And at that point, I'll also be going long the stop loss. And you could check the Forex Factory thread, where I will include all the take profit levels for the 3 orders, as well as the entry price and the stop loss. The stop loss will be at the low of this price bar down here at 1.2769 minus 1 pip. You don't include the spread on the short side. And so, you know, and what will happen here is if price does turn back to the downside, we'll get slapped out of that trade pretty quickly. But we do have, since we're risking 1.8 total on that trade, we only need to break out or test this top of this breakout for the first take profit to happen. And we could get a pretty quickly a second order, which is the largest size for us, take profit as well. So now just to avoid any confusion on this strategy here that we're talking about, this one specific strategy and only this strategy, we use the true trend BTC with the 333 period. If you go into indicators and strategies here on TradingView, you could just search over here for true trend and you'll see the 2 different true trends. This is the true trend BTC, and we also use that for trading Bitcoin, which we will look at in just a moment. There was a question over the weekend about Bitcoin, but for our weekly Forex forecasts and our daily trading of currency pairs, we use the true trend with the 3 period, 70 period settings. Okay. This is the one we're using on a day-to-day basis. This is the one that we're trading currency pairs with. The other true trend is just used for that one strategy and Bitcoin. All right, we did skip here the euro, Japanese yen, which we do want to take a look at. We see, I'm going to step back with you. We see that we're in the middle, in the very middle of this channel. Right, you can see that little channel. We also see, let me get rid of that. We also see, looking at price alone here, I see support. You see that line down here? That's support. I have over here, this was resistance. This also was resistance. It bumped into this resistance and then broke out And now it looks like price might come down and test that resistance to make sure it's support. So down over here would be a much safer buy zone. You could see we also have this lower trendline support to lean off of. So that's an area that we want to be watching, as this is a sell zone up here. This is going to be a buy zone. All right. All right, so that's what we're watching there. The other thing that I'm looking at right now is I see that, well, price is really still just consolidating. It's not moving. It's in 3 weeks now. It's stayed pretty much in this range. It is right now trading, or did break a little bit below it this morning. It is now trading back into that range. So there's no tradable event happening here. Price is not trending up or down. It's just consolidating in a very narrow range. It's not moving in either direction. You want to stay out of this pair. At the same time, we want to be tracking this pair. We want to know where it possibly could be headed. Right now, it's in the dead center of this channel. We do see over here, we have a buy zone if price does come down to it. Adversely, this is a take profit or a sell zone. But right now, we're just on the sidelines on the euro Japanese yen. You know what? They moved it to the commercial section. Raj, I should include a link to it in this video, because I use that video on a daily basis for updating people whenever there's a new signal. Let me go ahead and see if I can pull that up. All right, there's the thread right there. And let me pull it up here for you. This thread is really helpful because I just want to show you, for example, on Friday, I alerted everyone that we're having a signal here. We're having a trend change on the pound, giving us a sell signal. And then I went ahead before the market opened, and I gave everyone a heads up of what that entry would look like. And then when I entered the trade, I included all my levels. This trade is entered in 3 orders. I included the position sizes for each order. I included the take profits for each, as well as the trade levels. And that's what I'll do again today. So this is a nice thread to follow to help people really learn this system. If you haven't already gone ahead and watched that video, highly recommend it. Not only does this give people who have limited time to be able to trade the markets, but by being able to trade and follow a profitable system, it really just expands your mind to understanding what it takes to trade the markets. And then you could then translate that into other aspects of your trading. So this is really important. I do have this as a beginner's guide. And I do believe this is basically essential knowledge for anyone who's trading the markets to learn. It shouldn't take you too long to actually be able to understand and master. And then after trading it for a few months, it'll just be ingrained into you. Yeah. So Scott's asking, as far as that trade on the pound, if I will exit it if we get a 0 line cross. And so here's the thing: when system trading, when you're following a set of rules, I always follow the rules. If there is a 0 line cross, I exit this trade at market. And the reason for that is because I am following the strategy, the system. I know that if I continue to follow the rules of the system, then I'm profitable. I never veer away from the system rules. if there is an exit signal and an entry signal, which would be another zero line cross, any open positions I have are exited at market. This reduces my max possible loss. The max possible loss for every trade we take on this system between these three trades is 1.8%. If I'm exiting the trade halfway to my stop loss, well, then I'm limiting my loss here. You know, I'm limiting it to about 1% or less. And that's good, because it doesn't matter if any individual trade winds up being profitable or not. It's a series of trades is going to actually what leads to profitability. So I'll be looking to exit this trade on this next signal and then enter the other way. And if it happens, because sometimes, and I need to look at the pound with you. We're here looking. Sometimes you get, I mean, over here perhaps. You can see trends tend to last for a long time. Here you go. But sometimes you get around the zero line a little bit of back and forth. And you can see here we had a trend change to the upside and then to the downside and then to the upside again and then to the downside and then to the upside. You take all those signals, and not one of those trades here on that whipsaw went to a full stop out. Not one of them reached their 1.8 full potential stop loss. They all exited, limiting their losses, and then you stick with it, and then you get, this was, you know, a full take profit on your second order, first and second order, and then again that happened to the downside, and then here we are now. So I take all signals no matter what, and that's the hardest part of the system to trade, is when you're getting back and forth around the zero line. But if you don't stick with the system there, then you don't get the payoff. You have to stick with it. Yeah, Jeff, I have a thread also on baby pips on the same exact strategy. The one here on Forex Factory, though, I'll include links to both depending on which forum people are using. There's just so far a little more information on this thread. If you go back to the first page, there's just a little more. It's just people have been a little more interested than on the baby pips, which has included a little bit more information. I find the people on baby pips to be really, really open-minded and outgoing, and I enjoy interacting there. So I'll also include in our description here on the video itself, I'm going to include a link and pin it to both. All right. This was just a comment that I did pin to this video so far. Someone had noted that they do trade also full time. And he noted about this strategy. He's like, listen, the key to success here is the money management, right? I think that the 3 separate trades is more efficient. I don't understand why you guys don't have any more subscribers, as what you're sharing here is really solid information. And that it's true that what makes this system so solid is the money management. And that's what I mean by first understanding this, you'll be able to translate that into your trading elsewhere, is understanding what's going on here. And the only way to do that is by learning it and trading it. Raj has a question. That's one. Do you have the indicator in Meditated 4 script? Yeah, I do. Of course. I have the indicator, and you can find it right here, Raj. If you go to this video, and right there, click on that link. That is the true trend with the settings for 333. If you go under inputs, you could change those to 70, and then for the entry CCI 3 to have the true trend for how we trade currencies. And then you also have it for how we trade this strategy and Bitcoin. Okay, so just go over here, go to the main page here, click on the pinned comment, and in the comments, you have this link here for the true trend. Again, that's using the 333 settings. Just go under inputs, and then you could change it back and forth. All right, let's continue. We just looked at the pound US dollar, and now I'm looking at the pound Japanese yen. And so I think you all see it with me. The first thing that we see in looking at this is we're seeing, well, price is definitely now back towards the top of last week's range. But overall, even still, we're just all trading within this range. Price is consolidating in a very narrow range. It is holding and holding well this enormous 1,000 plus pip move up that happened in just a week, and it's consolidating at the very top of that range. Obviously, it looks bullish. It looks like it has the potential to continue the move, but right now, it's not giving us a signal one way or the other. It's just simply in no man's land. It is in this very tight range, consolidating. We're just waiting for price to make its move. And then after it makes its move, the true trend will take us into that trade. That's not happening right now. Hey, I appreciate you stopping by, Scott. Thanks. All right. So tomorrow will be officially 1 week since we started these live streams. And I really enjoy doing this with you. I really enjoy sharing these weekly Forex forecasts as well over the weekend. Everyone, there's some fantastic comments that really inspires me to keep sharing with you guys. I know that they don't get many views at all. And I see a lot of people want it, but that's because we just started. It takes a lot of time to build up awareness, and it really doesn't matter. It only matters who we're sharing with, and receiving this type of feedback from people which is really genuine. That means that it's really helping people, and people really are appreciating what is being shared, and that's what's important to me. All right. Moving over here. Oh, this looks interesting. This looks interesting for a couple of reasons. Let me take a look. We're looking at here the euro versus the British pound. And why I say it looks interesting is because looking at the daily here, you can see we're breaking down further, right? This downtrend, this long downtrend that we're in, that is continuing. We're seeing price now taking out the lows that were over here, and it's definitely making new lows. But what I also see at the same time is you see this long trend line I have here. When price broke out over here, and false breakouts happen all the time. Look, this was a false breakout, right? Then it went back into the channel. Then this support of the channel held again. But over here, it broke out. It's been consolidating sideways up until today, where it's breaking down. But it's not, price is now testing this trend line, which, because it was resistance, if this now holds us support, meaning if price doesn't trade back down into this channel and bounces off this support, that's a really bullish signal. Actually, last week, or in last week's weekly Forex forecast, not this past weekend, the weekend before, I did note that if price were to go ahead, price was up here, actually trading somewhere up here. And I said, if price comes back down and tests this trend line down here somewhere and then bounces off, we're going to definitely drop down to the 8-hour, and the first trend change we get, we're going to be looking to taking longs, because this is an extremely positive signal. Let me show you the last time that happened. I'm going to go back to gold. All right. And we're going to focus here on this area right here. All right. We had this trend line over here. You could see over here, gold. Trend lines are so subjective, right? But this looks good. You see over here, this trend line, gold over here, it broke out, right? And then came back down and tested that trend line, and it held as support. And then when it held off support, price really took off. All right, this is a pattern that happens over and over and over again. You have when price finally does, out of a falling trend line, break out of it, if it comes back and test it, that's usually a really good signal. If that test holds, that price is then going to make its move. You could see that happening, possibly happening here on the euro British pound, because you have this breakout and then this test over here. Price could fall back into this channel over here. At that point, we'd be looking for price to come back and test the lower end of this channel. But if price does hold here, that could be a possible bullish signal longer term. We're going to move down now to our euro versus the Australian dollar, and not much going on, right? We see that price is just trading in the middle of last week's trading range. That blue box over here is last week's trading range. Price is in the dead middle of it. We do know that the euro has been pretty weak, but the Australian dollar is the weakest pair today. That's why we're seeing some gains taking place here. This is a non-event for me. This is just in no man's land. There's nothing to look at or trade. We will go back and we're going to check out the pairs that were offering the highest potential for setups today, but nothing is really, aside from a possible euro US dollar short developing and a possible long on the US dollar Japanese yen, I do not see any other potential setups occurring. Here we're looking at the Australian dollar Japanese yen. And, you know, again, I'm going to use this. I see that price could be breaking out of this little trend line that I just drew in here, right? That's possible, but I don't really see price doing much of anything. I see that we're towards the lower end of last week's range. We definitely have the Australian dollar weak. It's possible this is going to be breaking down. If you will look down at the 8-hour, you could tell by the tone of my voice, not too jazzed about it. I don't really see any opportunity. And that's it. We're just going to wait on that. There's no edge there. New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen, this pair was really weak on Friday. It was probably the weakest pair, and prices still peeled back and come off. This is the 8-hour we're looking at. And I just see price consolidating, as most yen pairs are, in this range. So let's go look at the pairs that are offering opportunity today. Start here with the US dollar, Japanese yen. And just to review quickly, we are in this uptrend. Looking at the 8-hour here right now, we're in an uptrend. The entry CCI is giving us criteria to begin looking for longs. We're only looking for longs because we're in an uptrend. The trend is positive. However, the entry CCI is pulled back against it, saying price is near term oversold against the trend. I see here that price, this is holding this support so far. This test of support is holding. It's possible we get a long position. My stop will be down here. I won't be risking too much. I'll be risking 1%, but it is a trade that I'm interested in seeing how it plays out. And then also here on the euro US dollar, we also have the inverse happening. We have a downtrend. We have the entry CCI giving us trade criteria for a sell as price is near term pulled back against the trend. We could see that the last 2 times this happened was over here. And then again over here, I was able to get this one entry. I did not take this other entry. Again, I'm looking for this entry if price resumes this downtrend. It's a nice slope downtrend. Price is really falling. You can see it clearly. And I'll be looking for this entry right here to take profit about 25 pip, 30 pips down here if I do get into that trade. And this trade continues to stand to be left open. And that's what I see happening today. I did want to take a look at also at what is happening on Bitcoin. Let me highlight a comment from over the weekend with you. All right. Now it was Jeff's question. All right. Here's the question highlighted here. Will the daily Bitcoin, having given a buy, and then in addition to the monthly trend is up, will the sell not be at odds with this? Okay. So here's the question. He's saying, looking at Bitcoin, start here on the daily, and we have to just discount today's price bar, which has been selling off. This was asked yesterday. So he's looking at, I believe, this price bar, which was a big positive price bar. And on the daily, we were looking at Bitcoin last month putting in a nice positive up price bar, right? Last month, Bitcoin, it opened up here, traded down, and then traded up and closed up for the month. Going into November, November tends to be one of the most volatile months for Bitcoin, usually a positive month as well. But we are within 6-7 months to the halvening in May, and price for the last two halvenings has traded in a narrow range going into a halvening. So I'm not looking at this November as being like any type of seasonal pattern personally. But so we have here last month was positive, but we have for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months in a row, price making lower highs on the monthly, right? That's bearish. That's not the, and then you have price for the last 1, 2 months making lower lows. That's also bearish, but this does look like a bull flag to me, right? I say that this is just, you have this big move up, and then price is look like it's making a bull flag, which is a continuation pattern. That's what I see happening. But all of that is irrelevant when it comes to Bitcoin. And here's why. Because we trade Bitcoin on the 12-hour time frame using the true trend. And regardless of these price fluctuations, whether they're on the daily time frame or on the monthly time frame, it's just a lot easier because here you all know this happened recently. This large price movement in Bitcoin happened. Do you know how many people bought up here? See this long candle? A lot of traders bought up here. The smart money bought down here. We had record contracts bought unbacked by institutional investors right over here. And then a bunch of retail traders were afraid they were going to be missing this move up on Bitcoin and bought over here because they saw price up 30% in one day and they were afraid they were going to miss out, and a lot of FOMO kicked in and they bought up here. We're just following the true trend, and we had our last buy signal was all the way down here, right? At around 4,800, call it. I think it was less than that. I think it was 4,600 or 4,500, either which way. We were holding Bitcoin long all the way till we got our next sell signal to get out of Bitcoin over here at about 8,500. So that was about $4,000 gain. And then since holding it, it looked like we were going to get a trend change over here, but we didn't. We never got that zero line cross, and now prices come off. When the next up move happens in Bitcoin, before that happens, as it happens, we're going to get a trend change, and then we'll get long Bitcoin. But until that happens, there's no need to worry about it. There's no need to think about it. Yes, Bitcoin is phenomenal for trading on a daily basis. To do that, and right now using the 2-day is the most helpful. Okay. Take out a little bit of the chop. We've had some narrow range trading recently when Bitcoin is kind of trending a little bit more. You get down to the daily. Right now, the 2-day takes out a lot of the chop. I have to actually explain this, but just real quick with you guys right now, let me show you. If you were to be trading Bitcoin like this right now in this current environment, get rid of the true trend. And if you were just, I need to get into the money management with you, but just for a simple explanation right now, if you were just taking every time every time Bitcoin makes a new lower low on the 2 day, taking a short, and when it makes a higher high, taking longs and trade in and out of it like that, you have, for example, here a buy signal, right? And then you down over here get short, and you can see that's a loss you're taking. And then over here you're short, and then you get long here. That's another loss you took, right? And then over here you get short. That trade was break even. You get long on this price bar. That was just a tiny small gain, but you got short again over here on a small loss. And then you get long here. You were long to over here. That's a nice gain. Over here you got long. Over here you're short, and you've been short since. This is turning out to be a nice gain. But what this does is this is going to keep you on the right side for these moves that happen in Bitcoin. And they happen, looks like once every week, once every 2 weeks. But it will stop you from getting chopped out of the market a lot, which is really important. That's for those who are looking, to trade Bitcoin in and out a lot more. I recommend, we have a video on it that I highly recommend on trading Bitcoin. Which is on the channel. You can find it easily, and just go into the Bitcoin investing in Bitcoin playlist, and by just following the true trend on the 12-hour time frame, I believe this is by far the best and most profitable way for anyone to trade Bitcoin over the long term. I hope I answered your question, Jeff. When you get a chance to watch this, please let me know. As far as the conflicting signals we're seeing on the daily and on the monthly, and the trend being on the 12-hour down right now. But Bitcoin is just, even on the monthly, again, we have what looks like to me this bull flag developing, right? And whether or not this was the low or not, because we did get a bit of a price action reversal here. We made a lower low on the daily, and then price closed up, but it's still making lower highs, right? And until you get a new higher high on the monthly, trend is still down, right? No worries. Again, as you all know, I expect Bitcoin to be trading for the next 7 months like this, right? In a narrow range, as it has in the last 2 halvings, the last 6-7 months. And then it usually, what it's done is it's at the halving date, it's been at a price that was an average between the highest price point and the lowest price point, using our TXOs, our data point sample. All right. So that looks, if anyone has any questions, now is a good time, as we have everything, our plan pretty much in place for today. Looking for some shorts on the Euro US dollar. If a new trade does develop, we'll keep watching that. Same thing on the US dollar, Japanese yen. This is now trading towards the top. I'm going to pause here for 5 minutes so I can make sure my orders are in here, which they're not yet. So it's going to take a 5-minute break to go ahead and place my orders. Yeah. Raj's question, is it possible to somehow use the true trend in trading via stock screener to identify stocks which are showing a true trend signal? Not that I know of. I've never even explored with it with their stock screener. Raj, the question is, to go ahead and if, let's say you're looking at, I don't know how many currency pairs that we look at every day, call it 10, but to look at the 10 pairs and to see if you have a signal or not. For example, this is a stock screener would be offering a buy signal right here on the 8-hour Australian dollar US dollar, because the true trend is positive and the entry CCI is negative. That's giving us buy signal criteria. However, this is not a pair we're considering whatsoever as we looked at it today for a long at all, right? Over here in this area, it definitely was. We've been looking for longs all day. But right now, we know that price has taken out this trend line here and traded below this one as well. We're looking to see if shorts develop in the future. But by clicking on each pair and seeing whether or not you have trade criteria would really only take about a minute. Like, for example, it's clear right now there's no criteria here. But I believe the way that we look, and by going over it together each day, I'm showing you, because it's very consistent, the way that I view and look at each currency pair to see whether or not there's a tradable event occurring or coming up on it. I'm not sure how much of an advantage having a stock screener letting us know that there was trade criteria on it, because that's just one piece of the puzzle we use. We're not going to take a trade that doesn't have the trade criteria on it using the true trend. Here's an example of criteria for short. You have a downtrend with the entry CCI trading upwards. So you could look for shorts here, right? And that looks promising, right? But the way that we view the market and look at what's going on is for discretionary trading like this. Again, this is a black and white system. You follow this system rules to the letter, black and white, and that's how you trade it. But the way that we use the true trend for trading currency pairs is discretionary. We're looking for the flow of the market, what's going on. We're looking for technical levels. We're looking to trade around support and resistance, and then we're using the true trend as our last guide for getting us into those trades. Oh, for stocks, absolutely. There's no question it would be an asset for trading stocks and indices. Okay, now I'm sorry, Raj. Now I didn't fully understand your question. Now I see exactly what you're saying. I could take a look at it when I have the time to look at whether, I don't know how Trading View stock screener works, whether or not you're able to add any information to it for that screening process or not, or if that's something only done on our end. But I will take a look at it. At the same time, you can use the true trend on indices. Let me pull up the S&P here. You could, if you're manually trading, you could use the true trend for it. Absolutely. But I don't know if it's possible to get it into a stock screener or not. I think we're all set today. We have our trading plan in front of us. It does seem like a quiet Monday morning. We didn't take a look at gold today. I exited my gold trade on Friday, I think around 10 o'clock Eastern time. Let me show you exactly when I exited it. See this little, I got taken out of my trade here. You see this long wick up here where price traded up heavily and then traded back down to it. I exited my gold trade on this candle right here, probably towards the top of that wick. And actually right now, gold looks to be resuming that downtrend. This looks nice. This probably looks like the best setup of the day. We see that price right now is trading lower than this support right over here, which kind of held over here. You see the trend is down. We're looking at the 8-hour. The entry CCI was pulled back against it. The entry is right here. We're just a little a dollar or two below it right now. I missed the trade. If I'll be watching this over the next hour or so and see if I do get opportunity to get back into it. You have two places for the stop. You have three places for the stop loss to look at or consider. The first place would be over here. You can see the last time the price offered an entry was in this area up here. I could have the stop loss right above here. So you call that around 1475. Also, adversely, you could have a stop loss all the way up here, right? And the reason you would do this here, the trade would have to be a much smaller size. But over here, you have the breakdown. You have the breakdown of this trend line, the test of the resistance, and then the trend resumed. So if price trades back above here, this trade is failed, right? But at the same time, if you're taking a stop loss all the way up there, you're giving yourself to room and hold, and you're looking for price to come back and test down in this area over here around 1400, right? And that would give you a nice risk reward of about 1 to 2. Again, the trade would be much smaller. The dollar looks to be looking to make some gains back now against gold. This looks like a nice trade this morning. My bad for not considering gold in our initial screen, because we would have seen that set up right away. But again, I'm not going to chase after it, especially on a morning like today where price on all pairs doesn't really seem to have much momentum or be moving. Is it Veterans Day? I didn't even realize, excuse me. And I apologize, especially to any veterans here or that may be watching, and grateful. And I do thank you for your service. I didn't realize today was Veterans Day. I'm trading from out of country today and was just not dialed in like that. That does make a lot more sense then of why we're seeing that lull in the market today. Veterans Day. Absolutely. Okay, Raj. Thanks a lot. That makes a lot of sense. I was unaware that it was Veterans Day. And again, we're grateful to all the people who have given their lives in service. a little disappointed I got taken out of that trade. But I do remember definitely just being very undecided about it. And being that the Euro US dollar trade was just really humming on Friday, that I wanted to stick with that one and take the profit on this one. All right. Is there anything else that anyone else would like to take a look at or discuss? All right, everyone. I truly appreciate you guys being here with me today. I'm really thankful for that, and do appreciate every single one of you who have gone ahead, and basically every single one of you's been here has gone ahead and hit that like button, and that I do appreciate that support. I did go ahead and I changed our weekly Forex forecast link from last week to include that. I will go ahead and add to the make a living 1 hour day trading Forex strategy, beginner strategy, the thread for Forex Factory and Baby Pips as well. For those of you who wish to follow along on that, we will have a buy trade, it looks like, on the pound US dollar later today. Again, all that information is shared to help you learn it really well within the threads, on both threads. We will be here again tomorrow at 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern time for our live stream to take a look at what's going on in the markets. Today is, obviously, because of the holiday in the US, a very slow day. And what we do have is obviously possible play on gold, which was not on my radar, unfortunately, this morning, and looks to be very healthy as this downtrend is now resuming. I am looking to see if I could get into a final short here on the Euro US dollar. It'd be my second of this move. And also a long here. Looks like I just now am getting triggered here on the US dollar, Japanese yen. Again, my first take profit is going to be up here as we trade towards the top of this rising wedge channel. And depending on how price reacts or moves around that, if we break through, this is going to be obviously a much longer trade horizon, because we have a nice profit zone all the way up here if we get a break above that. But depending on if price starts stalling or bouncing off of there, we'll get out of that trade and just take a little bit of profit up here with the stop loss down over here where this red line is. I wish you all have a fantastic day. Again, thanks for being here. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for building and sharing this community with me. It makes it a lot more fun for me as I'm going over and doing this myself anyway, to be sharing it and doing with you. And if you just go ahead, just myself reading these comments, really supportive and grateful.
makes me really happy, and I appreciate sharing it all with you. Have a wonderful day, everyone. I will see you tomorrow.